And welcome to Hannity. And we start with the Fox News alert breaking tonight. We have all three major broadcast networks, fake news, CNN, MSDNC, all happily broadcasting, well, the dullest, the most boring. There's absolutely nothing new. Multi-hour Democratic fundraiser masquerading as a January 6th hearing. And by the sounds of it, they're going to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of this, produced by a former ABC executive. 100% Hollywood production with all the creative license that would go along with that. But make no mistake, tonight's so-called hearing is not in good faith. It is not an honest probe into the security breakdown on that fateful day, and we will prove that to you tonight. Instead, it is a made-for-TV smear campaign against President Trump, featuring sliced and diced video that fits their predetermined political narrative from the very beginning, accompanied by the biggest Trump haters on Capitol Hill. Every single person on this committee is on record hating President Trump, and they all voted to impeach him. Now, people who support Donald Trump were not allowed to participate on this illegitimate, hyper-partisan committee. And sadly, those running this circus are not interested in what went wrong. They're not interested in what actually happened. They are purposely omitting what is critical information we will tell you about tonight, and we will show you tonight that will reveal where massive security failures did occur, and beyond that, show you the people that are responsible for all of those security failures and how the committee is protecting all of them from being exposed. Tonight, we will name names. We will also show you how President Trump, our Defense Department, the Capitol Police, offered every warning and opportunity to protect the Capitol, and they were rejected every single time. Now, we must learn the truth so something like this can never happen again. I spoke out about it in real time on my radio show and on January 6th on this program that night. Now, sadly, this committee prefers politics over safety. On this program, we believe that improving security at the Capitol, protecting all elected officials, is of the utmost importance rather than a vengeful smear campaign like we see unfolding. So unlike this committee and their cheerleaders and the media mob, we will actually be telling you the truth. Now, tonight, thanks to the very diligent reporting from John Solomon, we now have troves of newly unearthed documents and our own sources, and we have now been able to put together a critical timeline that I promise you're not going to see anywhere else. Now, this is the official timeline of the Capitol Police as obtained by investigative reporter John Solomon. He will join us in a little bit. And we begin on January 2nd, 2021. We now know today definitively that on January 2nd, 4 days before the 6th, that Trump's Department of Defense and one of his officials from the Trump administration, in fact, reached out to the Capitol Police Department asking the deputy chief if they were planning on calling up the National Guard to help protect the Capitol ahead of the massive rally that was planned on January 6th. Now, the next day, on January 3rd, after consulting with the Capitol Police Chief, Deputy Chief Sean Gallagher told the Department of Defense that a request for National Guard was not forthcoming. However, shortly thereafter, they got new and darker security assessments that were issued to the House and Senate sergeants at arms, and they discovered that, in fact, radical groups were planning violence. Now, according to the assessment, it said, quote, due to the tense political environment following the 2020 election, the threat of disruptive actions or violence cannot be ruled out. Then it continued, quote, the sense of desperation and disappointment may lead to more of an incentive to become violent. Now, 1 day later, then on January 4th, the Capitol Police Chief, Steve Sund, he rightly, based on the new intelligence, changed his mind and began the process of now seeking permission from the office of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to, in fact, deploy the National Guard using that intelligence. Now, the House and the Senate Sergeant at Arms, they denied this request. Why weren't they called before this hearing? Anyway, still President Trump and top DOD officials, they forged ahead with plans to make a massive amount of National Guard troops available. Now, you might remember the previous summer, this is coming off the summer of 574 official riots in this country. where dozens of Americans were killed, where thousands of police were injured, where there was billions of dollars in property damage. So they rightly wanted to prepare. Then on January 4th, a meeting took place in the Oval Office. It featured President Trump, his Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller, the Department of Defense Chief of Staff, Kash Patel, who will also join us tonight, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley. President Trump, in that meeting, requested that up to 20,000 National Guard troops be made available for security at the Capitol for January 6th, as the law requires him to authorize. Now, the Washington Post, they lied and claimed that we must have made this up. They gave out 4 Pinocchios. And as per usual, the Washington Post is either dishonest or lazy or both. They didn't talk to the people that were actually in the meeting. We did on this program. 4 of the officials, 4 out of the 5 present in the Oval Office, have on this program corroborated our reporting. Take a look for yourself. Did you authorize calling up the Guard? And then it became, the chain of command went to Nancy Pelosi and to the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser. Did you, as required by law, authorize that?
100%, and attested to by many people, and they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down.
Mayor Bowser's written refusal, the communications between the leader of the Capitol Police and their chain of command to the DOD refusing our request to allow National Guardsmen and women to stage on January 4 and 5 before January 6th.
Did you both ask for the National Guard to be called up?
Without a doubt, Sean, we've made that very clear, not just once, but on numerous occasions. We wanted to make sure that there was plenty of National Guard on the ready in case there was some kind of violence.
I had a meeting with President Trump on the 3rd of January concerning some international threats, and at the very end, he asked if there were any requests for National Guard support.
What was the president's response to you with regard to the request made by Mayor Bowser?
Fill it and do whatever was necessary to protect the demonstrators.
Now, in addition to what you just heard, there was one other person in the room, and that is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley. Now, this week, people close to him have confirmed directly to me that the general absolutely recalls conversations with President Trump about security prior to January 6th. Now, we're more than an hour into what the Capitol show tonight, this so-called hearing. Apparently, there's going to be, planned hearings in perpetuity by the sounds of it. And this critical information, this critical meeting has not been mentioned one time. Not one time. Why? Because it doesn't fit, sadly, their predetermined political outcome, which we all know is to smear, once again, Donald Trump. It's kind of hard to say to somebody that somebody wanted a riot and instigated a riot when that same person authorized up to 20,000 troops to protect that very Capitol where the so-called riot is going to take place. Now, keep in mind, according to defense experts, the Capitol would not have been breached with thousands of National Guard soldiers providing the security. Let me say it another way. Had they actually listened to President Trump, had they listened to the experts at the Department of Defense, January 6th never would have happened. They didn't listen. They were deaf. They cared not to protect the Capitol. They knew they had 574 riots the summer before. They knew tensions in the country were high, and they didn't do their duty. They were begged repeatedly to take the Guard, and they wouldn't do it. Now, while the president can make National Guard troops available, it is important to note, well, then it becomes the responsibility of Speaker Pelosi. She's in charge of security at the Capitol, and also D.C. Mayor Bowser. She has the jurisdiction. They both have the authority at that point. Once the president authorizes the troops to be called up, they're the ones that have to deploy the troops to the Capitol and surrounding areas. So the question that they're not asking, that they should be asking, why didn't Pelosi, why didn't Bowser, why didn't Schumer, why didn't the Sergeant at Arms call up the Guard? Why didn't Bowser call up the Guard? Why didn't Schumer say, you know what, we should listen to the experts? Why didn't the Sergeant at Arms in the House and Senate listen to the Capitol Police Chief when he was begging them? You know, why did they deny the Capitol Police Chief the troops he said he needed? Now, if this committee cared at all about the truth, if they cared at all about preventing something like this, which we should all agree on, from ever happening again, they would be demanding answers from Pelosi and Schumer and Bowser and both the Sergeant of Arms in the House and in the Senate, and the Capitol Police Chief and the Deputy Police Chief and everyone else that would be responsible for securing the Capitol. Why didn't this committee subpoena all of these people, demand all of their text messages, all of their emails, and depose all of them? Now, even the vengeful and very Trump-obsessed Liz Cheney, she actually admitted tonight, I couldn't believe my ears, that the violence on January 6th was not spontaneous. She said it. It was not the result of the president's speech. Instead, she points out it was pre-planned. Now, as you watch this, ask yourself, well, if you knew ahead of time that people were planning violence, why didn't everybody that knew this, why did they, if you knew about this, why didn't you call in the Guard? Take a look.
The attack on our Capitol was not a spontaneous riot. Intelligence available before January 6th identified plans to, quote, invade the Capitol, occupy the Capitol, and take other steps to halt Congress's count of electoral votes that day.
Okay, so now they all knew the violence was pre-planned. Now, that brings us to January 5th, 2021. That evening, we now know that the FBI shared intel with the Capitol Police, revealing that some January 6th attendees were plotting an attempt to violently storm the Capitol. That's the day before. Quote, an online thread discussed specific calls for violence to include stating to be ready to fight. Congress needs to hear glass breaking, doors being kicked in. They intercepted intel. It goes on to say, quote, get violent, stop calling this a march or a rally or a protest, go there ready for war. They knew this on the 5th. And according to this document on your screen, the Capitol Police emailed the Senate Sergeant at Arms warning about this group that is, quote, promoting the photos of the Capitol tunnel system online and stating their goal of finding Democratic members early to block them from even entering the Capitol. Now, the same email revealed that rioters were planning to create a perimeter around the Capitol. Despite all of that intelligence, on January 5th, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser wrote a letter that day to the DOD explicitly asking them not to deploy National Guard troops to the Capitol on January 6th. Why would she ever make that decision? Again, why didn't they lift a finger with all the intelligence they had ahead of time to protect the Capitol, to protect every elected official? Is anyone on this committee, are they ever going to ask that question of Mayor Bowser? Are they ever going to bring in Nancy Pelosi and ask her why she didn't call up the Guard? They don't seem to care, apparently, because those people have not been interviewed. According to all the reports I'm reading, they only seem to care about one thing. And this is sad, because that house is our house. That's the people's house. That's your house. And we need to protect our institutions. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, and I said it on the 6th. We got to protect our elected officials. It's that simple. And it seems they only care about smearing Trump, exciting their base, maybe raising money off all this, which now brings us to January 6th. Now, that morning during his speech, President Trump, remember, he said these words, and they have yet to bring him up. What a shock. He said, many of you now will peacefully and patriotically march to the Capitol so your voices may be heard. And call for violence, kind of just the opposite of what Chuck Schumer said on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court when he threatened justices. And we all know what happened yesterday. Anyway, here's the president on January 6th. Take a look.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Okay, unfortunately, when the January 6th committee features their clips from Trump, I'll bet any amount of money they're going to slice and dice and edit around that part where he says many of you will now peacefully, patriotically march to the Capitol so your voices will be heard. I wonder why. Now, in the hours that followed, Capitol Police, they were ill-prepared, they were outmanned, and according to the department's after-action report, anti-riot squads did not respond in a timely manner. Many of their radios were not working, and much of their riot gear was locked in a bus, and they couldn't find the key. Now, ultimately, the Capitol Police Chief requested the National Guard and asked for help 6 different times, and it wasn't until way late in the afternoon that Pelosi finally said, okay. By that point, it was too late. The Capitol had been breached, and ever since, Democrats have used this awful day as a political weapon. They don't actually care about riots or improving safety and security. It's all political. Remember, right now, there's no congressional committee. Ask yourself, why don't we have a committee looking into the 574 riots that took place in the summer of 2020, dozens of dead Americans, thousands of injured police officers, billions in property damage? Where's that congressional committee on the federal courthouse in Portland? Remember, night after night lit on fire for week after week by far-left protesters. What, no hearings on that? Those lives don't matter? That property damage doesn't matter? Those police don't matter? So here we are suffering through yet another anti-Trump smear that will accomplish absolutely nothing. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.